What is it that binds us, traps us, and holds us back from the peace we so desperately seek? In a world full of noise, possessions, and constant interaction, there are things we accept without a second thought. Things that seem harmless, even welcome, but may carry unseen burdens. Have you ever wondered if some of the things we receive from others, knowingly or unknowingly, may actually be preventing us from finding true freedom? In Buddhism, particularly through the lens of Zen, we are reminded to tread carefully with what we accept, for not every gift is a blessing. Some may be subtle chains that anchor us to attachment, suffering, and control. The wisdom of Buddhism teaches us that the path to inner peace lies not in what we accumulate, but in what we are willing to let go of. What, then, are the things we should never receive from anyone forever? What hidden traps of attachment, ego, and obligation are disguised as gifts or gestures of goodwill? Together, let's explore 9 such things that carry far more weight than they seem, offering you clarity on how to stay rooted in peace, mindfulness, and freedom. 1. Gifts of attachment. In Zen Buddhism, one of the most profound lessons is the concept of non-attachment. This idea extends not only to emotional attachments, but also to the material world. Gifts of attachment are physical objects that, when accepted, can create desires, expectations, and emotional dependencies. These are the types of gifts you should never receive if you wish to maintain inner peace and emotional freedom. When we accept a material gift, we often unconsciously attach emotional significance to it. The act of receiving can come with an invisible chain of expectations. This might involve a feeling of obligation toward the giver or a sense of increased desire for more material possessions. Over time, these attachments can lead to suffering as they conflict with the Zen practice of simplicity and mindfulness. Zen teaches that the desire for more, or the fear of losing what we have, traps us in a cycle of dissatisfaction. The material world is impermanent, and everything we own will eventually fade, break, or be lost. Gifts received with attachment foster a sense of ownership, leading us to believe that these things define who we are. This is a dangerous illusion. According to Zen, the more we attach our happiness to external objects, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment. A life centered around material accumulation is inherently unstable, as everything in the physical world is subject to change. When we cling to things, we resist the natural flow of life, which is defined by impermanence. As Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh teaches, the root of suffering is attachment. By accepting gifts with attachment, we cultivate this very root within ourselves. The object given, whether it be a new phone, a piece of jewelry, or even a house, becomes something we feel we must hold on to. The joy we initially feel upon receiving it is fleeting, replaced by the anxiety of loss or the craving for more. This is because material objects cannot provide lasting fulfillment. They can only temporarily distract us from our deeper, more existential questions. To practice Zen means to be mindful of these hidden attachments. When you are offered a gift, it is essential to ask yourself whether you are accepting it with a clear mind, or if you are being pulled into the cycle of desire and attachment. The mindful approach is to receive gifts with gratitude, but without clinging. Recognize the gift for what it is, a temporary object that may bring temporary joy, but will never contribute to your long-term peace or enlightenment. In Zen practice, non-attachment doesn't mean renouncing all material possessions. Rather, it's about not allowing possessions to possess you. The physical world can be appreciated, but it must be held lightly. A Zen proverb states, "Let go or be dragged." This reminds us that holding on to things, whether they be objects, desires, or expectations, will eventually drag us down into suffering. The more we attach ourselves to the external world, the further we drift from the present moment, where true peace and contentment can be found. By avoiding gifts of attachment, you create space in your life for what truly matters: mindfulness, self-awareness, and the cultivation of inner peace. In doing so, You free yourself from the chains of materialism and live a life more aligned with the simplicity and serenity that Zen Buddhism embodies. 2. Criticism with malice. In Zen Buddhism, the concept of equanimity, a calm, balanced mind, is central to living in harmony with the world. This principle becomes particularly important when dealing with criticism, especially when it is delivered with malice. Criticism with malice refers to negative feedback or harmful remarks that are intended to wound, belittle, or demean. Receiving such criticism can disturb your inner peace, leading to emotional turbulence, insecurity, or anger. However, Zen teaches us to approach even the harshest criticism with mindfulness and resilience. At the heart of Zen is the understanding that all external circumstances, including other people's opinions, are impermanent and often reflect their own struggles or imbalances. When someone offers criticism laced with malice, it says more about them than it does about you. In fact, malicious criticism is often a projection of their inner turmoil, jealousy, or unresolved conflicts. The first step to dealing with such negativity is recognizing that it is not a reflection of your worth or abilities. By understanding this, you protect your mind from being swayed by harmful words. Zen wisdom encourages us not to take malicious criticism personally. A famous teaching from Zen master Shunryu Suzuki states, "You are perfect just as you are, and you could use a little improvement." This statement reflects the duality of self-acceptance and continuous growth. When you encounter malicious criticism, it is vital to maintain a sense of inner stability, to be neither overly defensive nor crushed by harsh words. Zen teaches you to sit with these emotions, observing them without reacting impulsively. The idea that the obstacle is the path is another profound Zen teaching applicable here. Criticism, especially when cruel or harsh, can be viewed as a challenge on your journey of self-growth. Rather than reacting emotionally, you can use it as an opportunity to practice resilience, patience, and non-reactivity. The true obstacle in malicious criticism is not the words themselves, but how you allow them to impact your mental state. If you meet this obstacle with mindfulness, it becomes a tool for developing inner strength and emotional fortitude. When facing malicious criticism, mindfulness becomes your greatest ally. Through mindfulness, you can create a mental space between the criticism and your response to it. In that space, you can decide whether the criticism is worth engaging with or whether it is better left ignored. If the criticism contains no constructive value, Zen teaches you to let it go, much like clouds passing through the sky. You observe the cloud, but you do not hold on to it. It drifts away, leaving your mind clear and unaffected. In Zen, silence can also be a powerful response to malicious criticism. Rather than engaging with the negativity, which only gives it power, you can choose to remain silent, allowing the storm to pass without disturbing your inner stillness. As the Zen proverb says, "Let your words pass through 3 gates. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind?" If the criticism does not meet these criteria, there is no need to give it space in your mind. Zen also reminds us of the transient nature of all things, including emotions and opinions. Malicious criticism, no matter how cutting in the moment, will eventually fade. This impermanence means that even the harshest words do not need to leave a lasting impact on your life. You are free to let them go, knowing that your worth is not tied to the judgments or opinions of others. In conclusion, malicious criticism should never be accepted or internalized. Through Zen practice, you can cultivate the ability to view such negativity with detachment, allowing it to pass without disrupting your inner peace. By approaching criticism mindfully, you not only protect your emotional balance, but also transform adversity into an opportunity for growth. With patience, resilience, and equanimity, you can navigate life's challenges while maintaining harmony within. 3. Unwanted advice. In Zen Buddhism, the value of self-awareness and inner wisdom is paramount. Unwanted advice often comes from well-meaning people or from those who seek to impose their opinions on your life, regardless of your readiness or need for their guidance. Receiving such unsolicited advice can cloud your judgment and disrupt the calm, mindful state Zen seeks to cultivate. The essence of Zen is about looking inward, discovering your own truth, and developing a path to inner peace that is unique to you. Therefore, it's essential to discern between genuine wisdom that resonates with your path and advice that hinders your spiritual growth. One of the key teachings of Zen is to let go of attachments, including attachments to the opinions of others. When someone offers advice without being asked, it often reflects their own perspective, assumptions, or desires, rather than an objective truth. If you accept this advice without careful reflection, you may find yourself trying to live up to someone else's expectations rather than following your own inner compass. This is why in Zen, unsolicited advice can be seen as a distraction from your journey toward self-awareness and mindfulness. Senkan, a renowned Zen master, once said, "Do not seek the truth, only cease to cherish opinions." This teaching reminds us that Zen is not about accumulating knowledge or adopting the beliefs of others, but rather about letting go of preconceived notions and opinions. Even well-intended advice. When someone offers advice that you did not seek, it's important to pause and reflect on whether it aligns with your inner truth, or if it's merely an opinion that could lead you astray. By being mindful of this, you protect your spiritual integrity and avoid the confusion that comes from taking on external guidance that may not resonate with your path. Moreover, in Zen practice, there's a deep emphasis on trusting your intuition and allowing wisdom to arise naturally through experience and mindfulness. True wisdom doesn't need to be imposed. It emerges from within when you are fully present and aware. Unwanted advice, no matter how well-intentioned, can disrupt this process by imposing external pressures and expectations on your journey. Zen encourages you to cultivate patience and trust that the answers you seek will come in their own time, rather than rushing to adopt someone else's advice out of a sense of obligation or insecurity. The practice of mindfulness is a valuable tool in dealing with unwanted advice. When someone offers unsolicited counsel, instead of immediately reacting or feeling pressured to follow their suggestions, mindfulness allows you to step back and observe your feelings without judgment. You can assess whether the advice aligns with your own needs and desires, or whether it is simply an external influence that could lead to imbalance. By maintaining a mindful awareness of your thoughts and emotions, you create a space where you can respond from a place of clarity rather than from a place of obligation or confusion. It's important to remember that in Zen, simplicity and clarity are highly valued. The more opinions and advice you receive, the more cluttered your mind can become. To maintain a Zen state of being, it is crucial to focus on what truly matters to you and let go of what doesn't serve your growth. Unwanted advice often complicates matters by introducing unnecessary noise into your mental and emotional landscape. By learning to let go of unsolicited counsel, you keep your mind clear and your focus sharp on the path of self-awareness and peace. In conclusion, Zen teaches that unwanted advice should not be accepted without discernment. By remaining mindful, you can filter out opinions that do not resonate with your inner wisdom, allowing you to maintain clarity and focus on your personal journey. Trusting in your own intuition, cultivating mindfulness, and letting go of external influences are essential steps in finding true peace and harmony within. 4. Objects of obligation. In Zen Buddhism, the principle of freedom from attachment is central to achieving a life of inner peace and mindfulness. One specific form of attachment that can create emotional and mental entanglement is receiving gifts or objects of obligation. These are physical items or favors that come with strings attached, hidden expectations, debts, or a sense of duty to reciprocate. Zen teaches that by accepting such objects, we compromise our sense of freedom and simplicity, which are core tenets of the practice. Objects of obligation often bring with them a subtle, unspoken expectation of repayment, whether it be through a favor, loyalty, or emotional attachment. While the gift or object itself might seem harmless, the sense of indebtedness it can create weighs on the mind. This burden of obligation leads to a form of attachment that can disturb the inner peace Zen practitioners strive to maintain. In Zen, it is essential to live freely without the constraints imposed by societal expectations or personal debts. The more we feel indebted to others, the further we stray from this ideal. A profound Zen teaching emphasizes simplicity and the importance of living with minimal attachment. A Zen proverb states, "When you walk, just walk. When you eat, just eat." This saying points to the idea that we should engage in each action with full mindfulness and focus, without being distracted by unnecessary complications. Objects of obligation, however, introduce complexity into our lives. By accepting them, we are no longer just walking or eating. We are carrying the weight of someone else's expectations, which pulls us away from living in the present moment. Zen also teaches us to live with awareness of impermanence. Everything we possess, including relationships and material objects, will eventually fade, break, or disappear. When you receive an object of obligation, the attachment to that object ties you to a future outcome, the expectation of reciprocation or fulfillment of a duty. This takes you out of the present, anchoring you to a sense of responsibility that disrupts the natural flow of life. Zen practice encourages you to let go of these attachments, allowing you to focus on what is important here and now. By rejecting objects of obligation, you free yourself from this web of expectations. Zen's approach to life is one of simplicity and authenticity. This doesn't mean you should refuse every gift or favor. Instead, it's about being mindful of the intent behind the offering and the feelings it creates within you. If a gift or favor comes with a sense of obligation, it's important to recognize this dynamic and approach it with clarity, accepting only what brings true joy and peace, without the burden of reciprocity, aligns with the Zen way of life. In Zen, relationships are built on mutual respect and freedom, not on transactions or debts. When you receive something out of obligation, it can shift the balance of the relationship, introducing an unequal dynamic that creates tension. This goes against the Zen ideal of harmony and balance in all things. True giving, in the Zen perspective, comes without expectation of return. It is a pure act of generosity, free from the burden of obligation. Similarly, when you accept something, it should be done freely, without feeling the need to repay or fulfill an unwritten contract. Mindfulness is key to navigating situations where objects of obligation are offered. When someone gives you something, take a moment to assess how it makes you feel. Does it bring peace, or does it create a sense of burden? Does it align with the simplicity and clarity that you strive for in your Zen practice, or does it add complexity and expectation? By approaching each situation with mindfulness, you can make decisions that preserve your inner peace and maintain your sense of freedom. In conclusion, objects of obligation should be avoided, as they often carry hidden expectations and emotional burdens that conflict with the Zen principles of freedom, simplicity, and mindfulness. By recognizing the subtle attachments these objects create, you can protect your peace of mind and live more fully in the present moment. Zen teaches that the greatest freedom comes from living without the weight of unnecessary obligations, allowing you to cultivate a life of balance, harmony, and inner contentment. 5. Envy-fueled gifts. In Zen Buddhism, cultivating a life of simplicity and inner peace is a core practice, and one of the major obstacles to achieving this is the presence of envy and comparison. Gifts given out of envy or as part of a competition are harmful because they carry negative energy and disturb your inner tranquility. These envy-fueled gifts are often presented with the intention of showcasing superiority, instigating jealousy, or pushing you into the realm of comparison with others. Accepting such gifts can entangle you in a web of materialism and ego-driven desires, both of which Zen seeks to dissolve. Envy, in itself, is a destructive emotion that pulls us away from mindfulness and the present moment. When someone offers you a gift out of envy or competition, the intention behind the offering is not pure. Instead of an expression of genuine care or generosity, the gift becomes a tool for feeding their ego or seeking validation through material possessions. By accepting such a gift, you may unintentionally enter a game of comparison and competition, where you begin to evaluate your own worth or happiness based on what others have or give. This can lead to a sense of inadequacy, dissatisfaction, and a craving for more, all of which conflict with the Zen way of living. In Zen, the principle of simplicity is fundamental. Simplicity is about letting go of unnecessary distractions and desires, allowing you to focus on what truly matters: the present moment and your inner state of being. Envy-fueled gifts introduce unnecessary complexity and stir up desires that pull you away from the peaceful simplicity Zen practitioners cultivate. When someone gives you something in an effort to show off or trigger envy, it disrupts this simplicity by drawing your attention to materialism and comparison. Instead of focusing on your own path, you become entangled in the narratives and judgments of others. Zen also teaches that true happiness and contentment come from within, not from external objects or material possessions. The practice of mindfulness allows you to detach from the external world and its illusions. Envy-fueled gifts, however, tie your happiness to the material, tempting you to compare yourself with others and measure your success by what you own rather than who you are. The more you accept these kinds of gifts, the more you risk falling into the trap of thinking that external wealth or status can provide fulfillment. In reality, this only leads to more desire and dissatisfaction, as nothing external can bring lasting peace. A Zen proverb says, "The moon does not fight, it does not worry. It keeps to its course, but by its very nature, it gently influences." This beautifully reflects the Zen approach to life. The moon shines without comparison, without attempting to outdo others or seeking validation. In the same way, you should aim to live your life without being influenced by envy or competition. Accepting envy-fueled gifts is akin to stepping off your path and allowing others to dictate your actions and emotions. Instead, Zen encourages you to remain centered in your own experience, unaffected by the opinions or material wealth of others. By refusing to accept gifts rooted in envy, you affirm your commitment to living a life of mindfulness and simplicity. You protect yourself from the subtle emotional disturbances that such gifts can create. When you are mindful, you recognize that the value of your life is not determined by how much you possess or by how others perceive your worth. Zen teaches that true value comes from a deep connection to the present moment and to the peace that arises from within when you let go of comparison and competition. Furthermore, rejecting envy-fueled gifts is a way of practicing non-attachment. By not accepting these gifts, you are not only letting go of material possessions, but also detaching from the emotional baggage that comes with them. This allows you to maintain your mental and emotional balance, as you are no longer caught up in the toxic cycle of comparison and envy. Instead, you can focus on cultivating inner contentment and tranquility, which is the ultimate goal of Zen practice. In conclusion, envy-fueled gifts should be avoided because they carry with them negative intentions and emotional disturbances that conflict with the Zen principles of mindfulness, simplicity, and inner peace. By rejecting these gifts, you free yourself from the burden of comparison and competition, allowing yourself to focus on what truly matters: your own path and inner state of being. Zen encourages you to live simply, unaffected by the material world, and to find true contentment from within, rather than seeking it in external validations. 6. False praise. False praise, while it may seem harmless on the surface, is another form of attachment that Zen Buddhism encourages us to avoid. Praise, when given sincerely, can uplift and motivate. However, false praise, compliments given with ulterior motives or insincerity, can create a distorted sense of self-worth and lead to the inflation of the ego. Accepting false praise without awareness entangles you in external validation, distancing you from the Zen principles of humility, mindfulness, and self-awareness. At the core of Zen is the idea of living with simplicity and authenticity. Zen teaches us that true contentment comes from within and that relying on others' opinions or validation is a path to suffering. When we accept false praise, we risk attaching our self-worth to the approval of others. This external validation is fleeting and impermanent, much like everything in the physical world. Zen emphasizes that what truly matters is how we see ourselves and how we act in alignment with our own truth, not how others perceive us. A famous Zen teaching reminds us, when the shoe fits, the foot is forgotten. This saying encapsulates the Zen approach to self-awareness. When we are truly aligned with ourselves, when we are acting with integrity and mindfulness, we have no need for external validation. Our actions and our being are enough. However, false praise can act as an illusion that leads us to forget this truth. It distracts us from the practice of being fully present in the moment by encouraging us to seek validation outside of ourselves. False praise often comes from those who may want something in return, whether that be favor, loyalty, or an inflated sense of their own importance. By accepting praise that is not genuine, you become complicit in a transaction of ego, where both the giver and the receiver are engaging in a superficial exchange of flattery. This exchange moves you away from the simplicity of Zen, which is based on honesty, authenticity, and non-attachment. Instead of seeking the approval of others, Zen encourages you to look inward for validation and contentment. In Zen, the ego is seen as a major source of suffering. The ego feeds on false praise, leading to pride and a sense of superiority that separates you from others and from the present moment. This inflated ego can become a barrier to achieving true mindfulness and inner peace. When you accept false praise, you are feeding the ego, allowing it to grow stronger, which in turn makes it harder to practice humility, a key element of Zen. A Zen proverb says, "The bamboo that bends is stronger than the oak that resists." Humility allows you to be flexible and open, while pride and ego make you rigid, resistant to growth, and disconnected from the flow of life. Moreover, false praise can create a cycle of craving for more. Once you start relying on external validation to feel good about yourself, you may find yourself constantly seeking praise from others. This leads to an endless loop of desire and dissatisfaction, because no amount of external approval can ever provide lasting fulfillment. Zen teaches that lasting peace and contentment can only be found within, through the practice of mindfulness, self-awareness, and detachment from the opinions of others. By recognizing the transient nature of false praise, you free yourself from the cycle of craving and attachment. Mindfulness is key to navigating false praise. When someone offers you a compliment, take a moment to reflect on its sincerity and how it makes you feel. If the praise feels hollow or manipulative, it is important to recognize this and let it go without allowing it to affect your sense of self-worth. In Zen, this is the practice of non-attachment. You do not need to reject praise outright, but you must not let it define you. By staying mindful, you can discern whether the praise you receive is a reflection of genuine appreciation or simply a superficial attempt to gain favor or manipulate your emotions. In conclusion, false praise should be approached with mindfulness and caution in Zen practice. While it may temporarily boost your ego, it ultimately distracts from the inner work of cultivating self-awareness, humility, and inner peace. By rejecting the need for external validation and focusing on your own authentic experience, you can avoid the traps of ego and attachment. Zen encourages you to look within for a sense of worth and contentment, knowing that true peace comes not from the opinions of others, but from living mindfully and in harmony with your own truth. 7. Gifts meant to control. In Zen Buddhism, freedom from attachment and manipulation is essential for maintaining inner peace and living a life of simplicity and mindfulness. One of the subtle traps that can disturb this peace is the acceptance of gifts meant to control. These are offerings that come with hidden motives, designed to create a sense of obligation, indebtedness, or dependency. Such gifts are not given out of pure generosity, but rather as a means to influence or manipulate your actions, decisions, or feelings. In Zen, receiving these types of gifts can entangle you in emotional and psychological attachments, pulling you away from the core principles of autonomy, freedom, and inner clarity. Gifts that come with control often carry an unspoken expectation of reciprocity or loyalty. The giver may use the gift as leverage to direct your behavior, decisions, or emotions. In such cases, accepting the gift is not just a simple act. It is an entry point into a relationship dynamic that is based on manipulation rather than mutual respect or genuine care. Zen teaches us to live with awareness, and part of this awareness is recognizing when a gift is not truly a gift, but a tool for controlling your actions. The danger lies in the fact that accepting such gifts can compromise your ability to live authentically, to make decisions that align with your true self, rather than being influenced by the expectations of others. Dogen, a renowned Zen master, once said, "Tens of thousands of people go about their activities, but it is a person who lives by Zen who has no confusion." This quote highlights the importance of clarity and mindfulness in one's actions. When you accept a gift meant to control, it clouds your mind with confusion, pulling you away from the simplicity and freedom that Zen encourages. The manipulation behind the gift creates emotional complexity, as you may feel obligated to act in ways that are not aligned with your true self or values. This confusion leads to inner conflict as you wrestle between the expectations of the giver and your own desires or needs. Zen emphasizes the practice of non-attachment as a way to maintain freedom and clarity. When you are attached to material gifts or the emotional obligations that come with them, you are no longer free. You become tethered to the desires or expectations of the giver, losing your ability to act from a place of mindfulness and inner peace. This attachment creates an imbalance in your relationships and disrupts the flow of life's natural simplicity. By recognizing when a gift is given with the intent to control, you can protect yourself from this attachment and preserve your autonomy. In addition to non-attachment, Zen also teaches the importance of personal responsibility. When you accept a gift with strings attached, you may feel a sense of responsibility to the giver, even if it compromises your own well-being or happiness. This misplaced sense of duty can create long-lasting emotional and psychological burdens, leading to resentment, frustration, or a loss of personal freedom. Zen encourages us to take responsibility for our own lives, actions, and choices without being swayed by external pressures or manipulations. By refusing gifts that come with control, you maintain your ability to act from a place of truth and authenticity rather than obligation. One of the key tools Zen offers to deal with gifts of control is mindfulness. Mindfulness allows you to see clearly the intention behind the gift and to understand whether accepting it will enhance or hinder your inner peace. Before accepting any gift, it is important to reflect on how it makes you feel. Does it come with a sense of obligation or indebtedness? Does it create expectations that compromise your freedom? If so, Zen wisdom suggests letting go of the attachment to the gift and refusing it, knowing that true generosity comes without strings. The practice of Zen also teaches the value of equanimity, the ability to remain calm, balanced, and undisturbed by external circumstances. Gifts meant to control often disturb this balance by creating emotional or psychological turmoil. By remaining mindful and centered, you can recognize the manipulative intent behind such gifts and avoid the emotional disturbances they bring. Equanimity allows you to maintain inner peace, regardless of the pressures or expectations others may place on you. In conclusion, gifts meant to control should be approached with caution and awareness in Zen practice. While they may seem appealing or beneficial at first, they often carry hidden motives that can compromise your freedom and inner peace. Zen encourages you to live mindfully, to recognize when a gift comes with strings attached, and to avoid becoming entangled in emotional or psychological manipulation. By practicing non-attachment, personal responsibility, and mindfulness, you can protect your autonomy and maintain the simplicity and clarity that are central to Zen Buddhism. 8. Promises of future security. In Zen Buddhism, one of the fundamental teachings is to live fully in the present moment, free from the illusions of the past and the uncertainties of the future. Promises of future security, though they may seem comforting, are an illusion that often leads to attachment, anxiety, and distraction from the present. These promises, whether they come in the form of financial guarantees, job offers, or material possessions meant to safeguard your future, can bind you to a false sense of control and permanence. Zen teaches that by accepting such promises, you risk becoming entangled in a web of expectations and worries about a future that is ultimately unknowable. The first step in understanding why promises of future security should be approached cautiously in Zen is recognizing the impermanence of all things. Zen emphasizes the transient nature of life. Everything is constantly changing, evolving, and passing away. Nothing remains fixed or guaranteed, not even the most well-intentioned promises. When you attach your sense of peace or happiness to a promise of future security, you are anchoring yourself to something that, by its very nature, is unstable and subject to change. This attachment can create anxiety as you start to fear the possibility that the promised security might never materialize. A core teaching in Zen is the idea of letting go of desires, expectations, and attachments. When you accept a promise of future security, it often comes with an emotional investment in a particular outcome. You may begin to shape your present decisions and actions based on the expectation that the promised security will be fulfilled. However, this creates a mental attachment to the future, pulling you away from the present moment, which is the only place where true peace and fulfillment can be found. Zen encourages you to focus on what is real and tangible in the here and now, rather than getting lost in future projections or possibilities. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "The present moment is the only moment available to us, and it is the door to all moments." This teaching reminds us that future security, no matter how appealing, is never guaranteed. It is only in the present that we can cultivate the inner strength, mindfulness, and resilience needed to face whatever may come. By relying on promises of future security, you may lose sight of the importance of developing these qualities in the present, believing instead that external circumstances will provide you with safety and peace. This external dependence can undermine your ability to find peace within, which is the true source of security. Another aspect of accepting promises of future security is the sense of control it gives. Many people find comfort in the idea that their future can be secured through financial investments, job contracts, or relationships. However, Zen teaches that control is an illusion. Life is unpredictable and often beyond our control. The more you try to cling to future guarantees, the more you set yourself up for disappointment when things inevitably change. Zen wisdom encourages you to embrace uncertainty and to find peace in the midst of life's unpredictability. Instead of seeking security in external promises, focus on cultivating inner resilience and mindfulness that will help you navigate the uncertainties of life with grace and calm. Mindfulness is a key practice in Zen for dealing with the temptation of future promises. When someone offers you a promise of security, mindfulness allows you to pause and reflect on your emotional response. Are you accepting the promise because it makes you feel safe? Or are you grounded in the present, aware that the future is beyond your control? By practicing mindfulness, you can observe the attachments and desires that such promises create, and you can make a conscious decision to let them go. This frees you from the cycle of anxiety and attachment that comes with relying on external security. Lastly, Zen emphasizes the importance of self-reliance and inner peace. True security comes not from external promises, but from within, from the ability to remain calm and centered regardless of external circumstances. When you rely on promises of future security, You place your sense of peace in something outside yourself, making you vulnerable to disappointment and loss. Zen teaches that by cultivating inner peace and resilience, you can face whatever the future holds without fear or attachment. In conclusion, promises of future security should be approached with caution in Zen practice. While they may provide temporary comfort, they can also create attachment, anxiety, and a false sense of control. Zen encourages you to let go of the need for external guarantees and to focus instead on living mindfully in the present moment. By cultivating inner resilience, mindfulness, and acceptance of impermanence, you can find true security and peace, regardless of what the future may bring. 9. Unsolicited forgiveness. In Zen Buddhism, forgiveness is a deeply personal and spiritual process meant to arise naturally from within rather than being imposed by external forces. Unsolicited forgiveness refers to forgiveness that is given without your request or need for it, often carrying an underlying message of judgment or condescension. Receiving such unsolicited forgiveness can be emotionally burdensome and may even create feelings of guilt or confusion. In Zen, unsolicited forgiveness disrupts the balance of relationships and pulls you away from the practice of mindfulness and self-awareness by introducing unnecessary emotional complexity. One of the core teachings of Zen is non-judgment, the practice of observing without labeling or assigning moral weight. True forgiveness in Zen stems from this principle, where it is not based on a hierarchical relationship of right and wrong, but on a compassionate understanding of human nature and the impermanence of all things. When forgiveness is unsolicited, it often implies that the person offering it has placed themselves in a position of moral superiority, assuming a judgment that you were in the wrong and now must accept their pardon. This disrupts the equal balance that Zen encourages in human relationships, where mutual respect and understanding should be the foundation. A key principle in Zen is the idea that each person must walk their own path toward understanding and resolution. Forgiveness, when unsolicited, can be invasive because it imposes someone else's emotional process onto your own. Zen teaches that growth, healing, and forgiveness must come from within, at your own pace, and when you are ready. Unsolicited forgiveness often skips this critical step, forcing you into an emotional situation that you may not be prepared for or that doesn't resonate with your current understanding of the conflict. It disrupts your inner process and may introduce feelings of guilt, resentment, or confusion. The Zen proverb, "No snowflake ever falls in the wrong place," suggests that everything happens in its own time and order. In the same way, forgiveness must happen naturally, not forced by external pressure or unsolicited gestures. When someone offers forgiveness that you have not sought, it can feel out of alignment with the natural flow of events. This unsolicited act interrupts your personal process of reflection and reconciliation, pushing you to either accept or reject something that may not feel genuine or necessary at that moment. Mindfulness, a central practice in Zen, allows you to be fully present and aware of your emotions and thoughts without judgment. When unsolicited forgiveness is offered, it is important to pause and reflect on how it makes you feel. Does it bring peace, or does it create an emotional burden? Does it resonate with your own inner process, or does it feel like an external imposition? By practicing mindfulness, you can stay attuned to your own emotional needs and avoid being swayed by the expectations or judgments of others. You can choose whether to accept the forgiveness if it feels right, or to gently reject it if it feels misplaced or unnecessary. Unsolicited forgiveness can also create a sense of emotional indebtedness. You may feel pressured to express gratitude or to engage in a reconciliation process that you are not ready for. In Zen, relationships are built on mutual respect and the understanding that each person's emotional journey is their own. By accepting unsolicited forgiveness, you may inadvertently enter a cycle of obligation or emotional dependency, where the act of forgiveness becomes more about fulfilling the other person's emotional needs than about genuine healing and growth. Furthermore, Zen emphasizes the practice of letting go, Holding on to unsolicited forgiveness can create emotional baggage, keeping you stuck in a narrative of wrong and right that may no longer be relevant to your personal growth. Zen teaches that it is essential to let go of the need for validation, judgment, or resolution from others. Instead, focus on your own process of understanding and acceptance. Let go of unsolicited forgiveness, knowing that your peace and clarity come from within, not from external judgments or offers of pardon. In conclusion, unsolicited forgiveness can be a subtle yet powerful form of emotional manipulation that disrupts your inner process of growth and reflection. In Zen, forgiveness must be a natural personal journey that arises from a place of compassion and understanding. By practicing mindfulness, non-judgment, and letting go, you can protect yourself from the emotional complexities of unsolicited forgiveness and maintain your inner peace and clarity. Ultimately, Zen teaches that true forgiveness is not something to be imposed, but something that naturally emerges from within when the time is right. How many of the things we accept in our lives are silently guiding our emotions, shaping our decisions, or limiting our sense of peace? These 9 things, from false praise to promises of future security, may appear small or insignificant at first glance, but their impact on our minds and hearts can be profound. In Buddhism, and especially in Zen practice, we learn to recognize that true peace doesn't come from what we receive from others, but from what we choose to release. What would your life look like if you began to reject these hidden burdens? Could letting go of these attachments be the key to discovering deeper freedom and clarity? Perhaps the real question to ask ourselves is not what we need to gain from life, but what we need to stop accepting. How much lighter, freer, and more at peace would we feel if we let go of the things that bind us? Remember, the path to liberation is not one of accumulation, but one of mindful detachment. As you move forward, may you find the strength to say no to what weighs you down and say yes to the infinite space of clarity that lies within.